the the prayers. So yes, and this is what I was talking about initially. If you guys did not hear, my name is Theo, and I am a transformational coach and a narc coach. And my focus is on the LGBTQ community, namely Black lesbians and trans women 30 to 50 who have survived a relationship, that has been toxic and abusive, and with especially with a narcissist, or they're transitioning out of homelessness, or they just those who are transitioning and they need help learning, knowing how to start free, right? And to build a stronger foundation. So if you have survived a relationship with a cluster B personality, be they family members, friends, co-workers, boyfriends, girlfriends, etc., and are ready to go through the steps that I guide you through, to break generational curses, get to know the Most High God better, and regain confidence and clarity. And of course, the best part is reconnecting with one's authentic self. I am the coach for you. I am not just a coach, though. I am also a survivor of years, over 12 years, of gang stalking, witchcraft attacks, and narcissistic abuse, which led me to be homeless for 3 years. And I survived because I went on my hero's journey, and, and asked the Most High to show me what it was that was keeping me back, what it was that was keeping me in this loop and doing the same things over and over and over again. And what ended up happening was, I wrote down the ingredients, or these 4 steps: reveal patterns and beliefs to keep us in poverty in all areas of our life and not living from our authentic self. Heal. When trauma happens, we don't get the bigger picture. So understanding from what has been revealed helps us to do better, let go of the guilt, let go of the shame, and from that we go through step 3, which is to grow, and we release fear. Again, we release the shame, and we forgive ourselves, and we forgive others. Does not mean that we have to confront them in any way, shape, or form, because that's a part of that could be a deeper issue with people pleasing. So you're no longer carrying anybody else's baggage, including your own. And then 4, we step out and we show when similar situations arise. We respond with emotional intelligence. We respond differently. Then we've learned how to play chess, not checkers, in a nutshell. So coaching with me, you can be reassured because I've gone through what many of my clients have, and I've conquered it. Now, I may not have a mansion. I may not be showing you pictures from, the water or the ocean or a yacht, but I am definitely a survivor. And sometimes the demonic realm will bring things up to you of that nature. It's like, well, you must not be too good, right? That's that. Oh God, I forgot the syndrome. I have a podcast on it, but anyway, they try and get us to the demonic realm, try and get us to backpedal, and because they don't want us to be at a higher vibration. Because if we're confident about what we do and who we are, they can't get in, and they lose us as a source, an energetic source and supply. All right, so let's get to it. Topic again: infantizing of Black people. And I thought about this because I've heard the term, but it didn't kind of hit me, right? Like sometimes we hear things, and I've said this before, sometimes we hear things and it's like, okay, file it back away, or I can't do anything with it now. And until it comes time, we have that situation where it's like, boom, oh my gosh, yeah, right? Okay, that's the term for it. So imposter syndrome was the term I was looking for before. So the devil will try and use many ways to get us to backtrack. The more that him and his minions can't, if his minions can't feed, he can't feed. He can't keep up his kingdom. But the Most High God gets stronger. You get stronger. You feel me? I've said this before. When you know yourself, you know God. All right? So this came to me in dealing with a company that I had worked for recently, and just decided, I was like, you know what? For the first time in my life, this company is I mean, abusive, and they go through the steps of, like, I take you guys through the 4 steps. Cluster B personalities, as you guys have known, you guys probably have read up about it. The grooming, way to a narcissist grooms, or a cluster B personality grooms you. They who first spy on you, whether it be spiritually or physically or both, right? They always got somebody. You were a target before they even met you, and they got something. That's why they got something on you, so that way they could be able to say, oh, or give off this impression that you're soulmates of sorts, right? And so then they love on you, they idealize you. You are the best thing, and they really build you up, and they protect you, and they do all this stuff, and then one day they stop. And it's not necessarily because you did anything, it's just because they got you where they want you. They got you high on the hog, and now they're getting ready to let you fall onto the concrete head first. Right? Because and that, what creates a trauma bond is that right there. How can you have expressed all that? Because we don't think that people are like that, right? How could you have expressed all that? So, and then all of a sudden drop me, and then try and grind, put me literally through the grinder over and over and over again. So with this company, they did that. And I could tell that it was not a good company. I felt demonic entities there. And I saw people wearing red or black. Now, red or black is a worship of two types of demons. Okay? And three types of demons, I would say now, but I'm still doing research on one that is called Azazel. Because Azazel will go from body to body to get you. This is where the movie Fallen came from. So I did some research. And they try and make this demon, Azazel, seem as if, it is a benevolent being. But the thing of it is it will give you power, whatever. But just like with Santa Muerte, which is what Allied has Santa Muerte worshippers. Allied's uniforms are not, they're black, they're white, they're gray, they are not red and black. So you should not ever in a uniform from, their orientation, which took about a week, wear any red and black. When I first got there, I saw every red and black, but I also noticed that they were hiding from me. These are people who were hiding from me, would sneak out the back door. Now, mind you, you got dispatch that's in the same building, just down the hall, and they're locked and loaded. I remembered I came up one time to, because I was like, you're wasting my time again, right? So, having me go up to the main office and for some bullhorn, and they were trembling. Oh, it was reassignment for the second time. And actually, I didn't get reassigned the first time, but so after having seen and noticed that there were gang members there, and there are gang members in California, there are gang members who work for Allied, and they don't care. They're indifferent. So this is this narcissistic culture where they feel that they're entitled, and either you go along with it Because what? A narcissist, a cluster B personality does not like to be questioned. These people who worked for Allied did not like to be questioned, and they were very insidious in their retaliation. We know that when you bruise an ego of the cluster B, then they go about. Some of them are very extroverted about getting revenge on you, and some of them are introverted, or very subtle. And I realized it's like, every time I would build up, you know, it was, and I get stability. So not only did I have stalkers from where God told me to leave that had, they took it upon themselves to follow me, right? This was for some of us. I know, I've heard it from some clients. But for some of us, this battle, this time was already supposed to be over. I'm not supposed to be dealing with stalkers. I'm not supposed to be dealing with Santa Muerte, cult members from, Nathaniel's gang or any type of gang member bullhorn, because that's not my focus. That's not my purpose. Right. And so when realizing, just comes the word infantize came, infantization came up in the last meeting that I had with HR and some account managers from this company. And I said, you guys are trying to infantize me. And I don't know why I said it. Like, I wasn't even in my own body when I said it. So I had an ancestor who was like, no, let's tell these guys now. And I was recording the whole thing, and they knew it. See, they had known me before. They had known me before I even moved to this place. And that's what I'm finding. There's a lot of people, they're scattered, and each one of them wants a piece. It's kind of like Neo, right? When Neo showed up to a venue, after he came into his purpose, he came into his authentic self, right? You see all these demons and all these, Mr. Andersons and whatnot, that they go, oh no, right? Because they're like in the second one, because he defeated the first one, and the first one was such a badass, right? And so everybody's like, oh, and so this is Neo. And then they had to convince themselves, he's just a man, right? So when we get to that point, Phoenixes, when we've done the work so well, and we've risen in stature and status in the spiritual realm. That's where it's always going to happen. So they don't want it to manifest in the earthly realm. Because if what we are in the spiritual realm manifests and is visible in the earthly realm, they lose credit. And everybody starts to fear, like everybody starts to fear a whistleblower when it comes to pedophiles. Mary Jane at the Motel 6 and one of these employees, they are drug dealers and sex traffickers. I got confirmation, from somebody that has been doing, that's their focus, is outing these guys. And, it wasn't my focus, they were not my focus. But when you deal with cluster B personalities, the reason why they fall is because of their arrogance, is because of their grandiose sense of self, is because of that they're delusional. Right? It's because they're delusional. So, and the delusion of this company was that I couldn't figure out that they were purposely putting me through the grinder. I had been called the N-word by Hispanics in Spanish, because one of the girls was trying to out me because she didn't think, she hated black people. She hated black people, but she referred to me as being racist to somebody. She said, oh, she's trying to use the race card. When did I ever use the race card? Except for when you referred to me as the N-word in Spanish, and somebody else told me that. Because I don't pay attention when you're above that, when you're above all that pettiness, you don't pay attention. I don't pay attention to that stuff. That's not my focus. My focus was writing my scripts, writing my course outlines, to create another program, writing my book, doing the outline book, doing the documentary, and the infantization comes in when you're not allowing that person to grow. You are stunting somebody else's growth when you bring chaos into their life, not just the chaos, but the trauma, where you know that that person, you're whittling away and you're calculated about it. I remember the first time. So here's the first time uh, this company had shown me that they were out to basically get me was when they kicked me off a site. So again, this is how where they want to humble you, right? They want to humble you, and especially black people. I told them, I said, you know what? And even the account manager that I was talking to in this meeting that day was black. But I noticed one thing, that she had no light in or life in her eyes. And not just that, but her skin was blotchy and worn. Now this is would have been a normally dark skinned, beautiful black woman. But they had sucked the life out of her. They had left me in this room where we were discussing things, and there was no discussion. It was just, oh, we got you now because you actually admitted. Because, and I went ahead and signed it, and they said, okay, she's not going to sign it. You're right. This was the last site that they had me at. And the reason why they wanted me gone from that site was because I was not able to be manipulated. I was starting to question some things, and not to question to get anything. But when you have people who are arrogant, and they've been like, there were people who were, I mean, there were over a handful of out of 15, 10 people who would get on site. They were already overstocked, over booked for guards, but they needed fresh meat. They needed somebody to sacrifice. And the rest of the blacks that were there, and this is since I've been with the company, as long as blacks are infantile with Ally, as long in California here, as long as you're black and you go along with a predominantly Mexican staff, and you don't, because I mean, and this is, I had to keep telling us, like, look, this is not Mexico. I don't have to deal with the cartel mentality because there's no cartel here. And if they're here, this is our country. I don't have to deal with that. And people have started, they get mad, like, oh no, that's not racist. That's fact. That's fact. I remember there was a video of a Hispanic couple, and there's this elderly white lady who was telling them to go back to their country or whatever, and she just said, "Black Lives Matter," but you're not black. You do not identify as black. So you see what I'm saying? So you have people who will speak, who are under the PLC banner, but it's like a Trojan horse. Once you actually open it, you see what's inside. It's a virus. They're there to minimize and devalue um, anything that the black community has built, right? And so I was seeing this at my job, where and I told them some things. And it's like, and they pretended like they didn't know. You know what your people do. They did it at the last site where the supervisor, he would have been considered a captain, but he didn't want to be called anything. Because why? He was screwing the employees, which is a no-no. They tried to write me up for breaking company policy, but they wouldn't, and that was their downfall. They would not tell me what my accuser was, that supposedly, because it wasn't the first time that they had accused me. So this time they had accused me of cussing somebody out, which I did not. They said that they had video and that it was recorded. Not by the cameras, not by the security cameras only, because it did, but also by the person that supposedly I'd cussed out. Come to find out, when I started asking around, it's like, hey, when is this investigation? Because they took me off the site. And I said, okay, well, when is this investigation going to? Because I was confident. The thing of it is, they didn't want me there again because I was not. You weren't able to manipulate me. I wasn't going to be a mammy, and I had too much, according to their culture, as a woman. These Mexican men saw me as a threat. I was somebody that they could not have sex with. I was somebody, because of, open about my sexual orientation. I was also somebody that was going to call them out because I'd already been calling them out. I'd called a Hispanic female, and I've talked about this in Mammy, the podcast labeled Mammy. Topic was, how Black women are mammified by POC POC cultures. Those who are under that POC banner. And you're under that POC banner because, sorry, my brain does skip because I'm thinking of examples, but some of them I can't say. But they're only under the POC banner because it gives them power. They're a communal narcissist, right? How many times there was a woman on YouTube who was talking about San Francisco and her experience with gang stalking and witchcraft being done on her, and how a lot of these people who get involved in these community centered, civil rights and activism and stuff like that are actually predators. And that's come out. So, when there was no investigation that was really done. So when I told him, I said, you know what, and I was getting, because the word salad was coming out really good, really bad. And they kept saying, well, we're just following protocol. I said, but you didn't. And then they took something, they said, oh, well, you should have, because I brought up an example of the last site that I was at, and that was all she wrote. Then that's what narcissists will do. They will pull something and say, well, we fired that guy. Well, another thing that narcissists will do is they will not tell you anything that is in favor for you because they don't want you having the self-esteem. They don't want you to be healed. I had a gang member who they had hired, and he went behind me. I was in the dispatch center, and he came behind me and didn't think that I could see his reflection. I'm seeing everything that he's doing in the reflection of the doors because they're tinted, then they're reflective. So I saw him. He had this kind of ski mask, this motorcycle, mask that people put on to keep the cold out or whatever. And he had put that on, and he had came over to me, behind me, and made a gesture of a gun and fired. So I didn't see him. I went and told the supervisor, because at that time I was contacting the account manager, because one ploy that they were pulling was, and I told them, I sent her email, so I have in writing that I am being racially profiled, I'm being harassed, I'm being workplace mobbed, this is what's happening. And so when I brought that up again, to illustrate, you have done nothing but talk, they were able to pull that out of the hat and say, well, he was fired. I don't know, because I was let go right after that. I left right after that. You know what I mean? So that's why he felt that he was okay to do it. But so when they had that, they thought, okay, now we got you. You can't say anything and she was like, well, yeah, you just need to let that go. And then they, how people like give them an inch and they take a mile. And that wasn't even an inch. That was nothing. And I told her, I said, well, you didn't even do anything. You didn't do an investigation either. This was the HR. So, and I said, you guys are infantizing me. You're talking to me like I'm a child, instead of the age I am with the wisdom that I've brought you, because you can't retaliate. You can't say anything. You can't, there's no rebuttal that you have. There's cameras and footage and everything. There's times and dates. There was a month and 2 months, I think, that I was emailing back and forth and letting her know times and dates. This is happening. This is taking place. And they didn't want to do anything about it. Why? Because they were culturally strong. That's what they told me. And I remember the supervisor saying, gosh, it took us too long to get rid of this person. Right? So and he had warned me too. He said, it's going to be the same everywhere. Because why? They dominate that area. right? They dominate, not that area, but they dominate. They're a company that will hire their own. I saw so many things. Like you're sending other people home. Like last night, this happened where I was sent home, and I was sent home with other people. But I was still, because it was really raw, and I haven't been able to do what I'm supposed to do until this week. This week, I'll get some paperwork filed. But so when I mentioned to them, look, hey, this is you're infantizing. I feel like you're infantilizing me, where you're talking down to me, you're patronizing me, you're doing a lot of gaslighting. And I mean, I even had one guy get so mad, he's like about throw a temper tantrum. No kidding. 300-pound, 5 foot Mexican guy. Uh, oh, we're following protocol. You just get in there. Like, whoa. So I had to tell the lady again, don't send him in here. He'll get hurt. I'm in the world. I'm not of it. I don't have to play you guys' game, right? Because so right after all of that, with the realizing that I am working for a narcissistic company, it's not that I didn't realize it. It's that I didn't want to keep going looking for another job. I mean, their security jobs are galore, but one thing I realized in being in this new environment is that you have people who they can fire you at will, right? So people will use that. But, I mean, I would rather have them have just to fire me instead of try and put me through the grinder and embarrass me and do whatever, because the only thing that happened is they got embarrassed because I let them know. It's like, well, you didn't produce any proof. And they said, well, we don't have to. You do have to. If you've accused me of doing something, you told me that you were going through an investigation and that I would have to wait until the account manager that I had at the time, they said he went on vacation. So Friday, you tell me not to show up to work. And then I'm told that the guy's on vacation, but then Monday he calls and they said, okay, well, they don't want you to come back. I mean, that's basically you could have just told me that from the jump. But do you understand? Like they were so afraid of me having any type of victory that they scrambled themselves up, is what they did. They lost it. But I thought to myself, because I just said, wow, because it was going on deaf ears over there, and so they reassigned me. But I already knew, they knew, and that was the joke. The joke is we don't have to pay you. They had to pay me the last 2 times. So the joke was, now we don't have to pay you. We're going to get you out of here. I remember how the black lady looked at me, and it was just all this rage and hate, and I'm thinking, but she was smiling, but she was gone. Like her soul was gone. And I'm not saying that because she didn't agree with me, but I mean, I know I'd done everything I was supposed to do. I practice what I preach. I practice what I take my clients through daily. I play chess, not checkers. The most High God, I made the mistake of procrastinating because I was tired. You get tired of these cluster B games and these toxic cultures and these paradigms. It's like once you know the template, it's like, oh God, here you go again, dude. Like even as a coach, I get tired of the crap. Like, go away already. And that's the thing. Like, I went to the grocery store and I smelt a demon. And yes, they stink. This one stunk to high flipping heaven. And he was staggering back. I kept going through the aisles. I'm like, okay, God, why am I don't have any, I'm not confused. What am I doing? I said, I'm trying to I'm trying to avoid this demon. Because I could smell him from a mile away. And I notice, it still happens every time I clear my chakra that I get these toxic men, especially, but I also get women, right? But most of the time it's toxic men. I get these toxic men they want to be in your energy because they feel you at a higher vibration, and because they're lazy, right? You want, and this is the good thing about the Black community. This is, I think, what's kept us alive is, where you have like Mexicans or Asians or other cultures, and they're considered narcissistic cultures. I've told you guys this before. But what I believe I like about Black people is that we are diverse, but we are diverse spiritually. We're not going to co-sign like when they were trying to come up with the excuse, or they express their fear that, oh, you're only voting for Barack Obama because he's a Black president. I voted for Cynthia McKinney. I didn't vote for Obama because I never heard of him. I heard of her though. I saw the documentary. I think it was called Blackout, when the Zionists were going after her. You see, right? So I didn't know anything about Obama. Not at all. Like, he literally just appeared, and then it was too late to do. It was like, it was. You could tell that it was just going to be one of those things. Like, okay, you're in, right? But that's what I like about the Black community, is that we are not going to do something just because of the color of somebody else's skin. Some of us take it too far. Some of us don't take it far enough. Okay, that's my 2 cents. But so when I left, I became homeless because I decided, and I think, really when I left, it was like I knew that the Most High God was like, "You're not going back," and I could hear it's like, You're not going to go back. You're not going to go back." Um, and I wanted to tell him, but okay, so here it was like I was making the same escape that I had to make before in dealing with cluster B personalities. The same, I had to, the Most High God said, "Be quiet, but get away from," oh God, I forget you, Christy, get away from Olga, get away from Lori. All these women that while I was for 3 years on the streets, who were trying to monopolize my time or wrangle me up, right? This is the infantization. Infantization isn't just treating somebody like a child. Infantization is making sure that they're not there. They are going through so much chaos that they can't grow up, that they can't grow up in their finances. They can't grow up in their relationships, because you're traumatizing them with the same things that hurt them that they've already healed, but you're reopening those wounds and you're being persistent, right? And that's what cluster Bs will do. So I tell you guys, you have not met this person by accident. There is no coincidences, and not all coincidences are good. People say, "Oh, I don't believe in any coincidences," as if that's a good thing. You know what I'm saying? As if there's like a good or a bad. It's just there are no coincidences. Now we have to deduce whether this is profitable or if this is a liability, that this person is in my life, right? So, I already knew that the Most High God was like, "Nope, we're not doing this anymore." And I left, and I wanted to cry. I wanted to cry. As I said, when I was leaving, the Black girl she was basically demonic. I'm trying not to be so, but she was a demon. And I felt something. There was an entity that was in that room that was trying to see whether or not I was on the phone with somebody. Okay, so, and I could feel, because I was like, all of a sudden I got dizzy, and I said my mantras, I said my prayer right there. If they would have been in that room, I would have done it in front of them. I would have said stop, and I would have prayed, and I would have meditated. I would have said my words of power to get that demonic entity and energy off of me, right? So it was a very weird. This has been a very weird company, but I know that, because they would have just gone over again. They put me someplace else, and it was going to be, and because I had won, I had said, "This is what I want." When you put me someplace else, I was making 1960 in an hour. I'm in a new place. So if I would have gotten that 1960, it would have paid my rent within 2 weeks and my storage within 2 weeks. You see what I'm saying? So that's sabotage. The infantization is keeping somebody from reaching their goals. So they never can grow up. They're always having to backtrack unless they give up. And if we give up nowadays, we're going to be what? Homeless. If we're homeless, they're going to do what? They're going to take advantage of us. They're going to try and drug us up. They're going to try and pimp us out. I already went through that. I was telling the Most High God, it's like, we've already been through this. Why are we going through this again? And for some of us, there's a finalization. And somebody I had said on a video that he put me in alignment with, they said, it's going to, before you transition to your new life, it's going to look like you're going through things over again, right? Now, again, I said my problem, you got to be careful about when you do go through the 4 steps with me, Phoenix is Rising, you are being, what it will be revealed, which is going to be a benefit for you in the chess game, is your shortcomings. Just like when people you do what a kind of like a job thing, right? You can look at, okay, well, what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses? What are my what are the strengths and weaknesses of my business? I forget what it's called. I have done it several times, but you calculate what are my strengths and weaknesses. So my strength is doing the work. My strength is teaching. My strength is not promoting, right? I actually had somebody on YouTube who said, like, look, you've got great material, man, but you're not, you need help with your SEO. And it's like, well, yeah. But right now I'm distracted because somebody is trying to keep me in the infancy stage of my growth because they don't want people to see that they can be conquered. They don't want anybody to see their weaknesses, right? One of my downfalls is not downfall, but is procrastination. Sometimes procrastination is good, but at a balance, right? I wasn't balanced. The Most High God kept saying, do this now, do this now. I would have been saved from being in a homeless shelter, right? Because I would have, right? But and actually, no, God actually wanted me to go. I still blanked that out because I was like, what are you talking about? So that's why. That's the real reason, because I was like, okay, so everything happened for a reason. And I said this on a little audio clip that I had created, but I haven't uploaded it yet, but I'll just say it here. And I said, sometimes when God needs you to go somewhere, your blessings are coming, but if you're not listening, like I was not listening, I was like, because I still feel the trauma from being homeless. I still feel the trauma from being homeless for 3 years. The deaths, the people that I couldn't bury, the pup that I couldn't say I love you, the pup that I told that you're coming with us and you're out of the abusive relationship and thank you, it's still with me. And so realizing that it all worked out for my good. But that's what brought up the infantization, where cluster B personality, if they especially know that they're not going with you, when these demons in these people know that they're not going to be able to siphon your energy anymore, they throw tantrums. When Allied realized that I was not going to be one of those black zombies that they, or, I have the word for it, I can't think of it now, but like I said, I've noticed even at the last place, the lady said, you have a strong mind. So she kept saying that, And I realized it's like, another guy, older gentleman, probably 70s, late 70s, foot hurting, working 2, 3 jobs. Come on now, right? And I said, they're trying to be, and they didn't say anything. So with these, and this is where some POC become white supremacists. Because as long as I'm saying, okay, Master Boss, you can sleep with the clients, they were sleeping with clients at this one too and bragging about it. And the staff knew before anything had happened with anything with me that they were going to get rid of. I knew God was telling me. That's what I said. God was telling me. So we have to listen to our intuition, because and I was mad because I was like, why am I here now? I don't want to go there. I'm still healing from the 3 years that I had and it's not the 3 years necessarily of homelessness, but the 3 years that these Cluster B gang members thought that I should have been the most vulnerable. They wanted to humble me. Allied Universal wanted to humble me in California. They wanted to humble me. How dare you snitch on us? I'm not snitching on anybody. You're lying on me. See, that's the thing. When you're dealing with cluster B personalities, they are so scared of you getting something or knowing something. They're just terrified in general. These are uber sensitive people, and that's what I've run into. I've had people get mad at me and slander me because I didn't look at them right. That was with the gang member, right? I had a lady downstairs from where I live, and she had looked at me, and I'm fighting off this entity that's just won't just tries to keep sticking to me like glue. And I'd already done my prayers, meditations, whatever, and I can't fast anymore because my digestive system is screwed up. Um, I mean, not bad. It's still healing, and the reason why it's still healing is because they're attacking my sacral and chakra. So I mean, there's a lot still going on. The battle is when you're right there. They're going to come, keep coming, keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. You know, um, but when you're dealing with people, with a race of people, culturally, where they're uber sensitive, right? They're uber sensitive about how they're perceived, and what people say. I remember asking a lady. I was at a burger joint one time, and I said, "Oh gosh, who owns this, right?" Because I was just getting deep data to be able to write a good food review. I think it was called OBE 3000, and it was in Sacramento near my job. Burgers were on point, fries were on point. Mexican chick, all of a sudden, she gets this attitude with me, right? She's like, "Well, why?" Okay, that had nothing to do with me. That had everything to do with her. You feel me? And this is when you will start to see. This is why we don't have to people please. We just keep setting boundaries. She actually sent people to me because she was wearing red and blue. So red, blue, and black are colors for Azazel. Red and black, I think are just the colors for Arim and Satan. So those are the two that you're conjuring, right? And that's what I've learned through with these Mexican gangs that I'm dealing with. I don't know what about if you guys are dealing with it in some book of Abraxas. I have not delved into that, nor do I really want to. The Most High God has not told me to do anything of that nature, but I am researching Azazel because this is a demonic spirit that I believe has been attacking my family for generations to generations to generations. And again, Azazel, their colors are red, black, and blue. Okay, and so when you think about the Mexican gangs that are all under pretty much one banner, you got the Serenos that are blue, you got the Norteños that are black, that are red, and then you mix in, white and blue, right? Or not white and black. You got it's pretty interesting. But those are the colors that they're conjuring. Those are the colors that they're using and they're wearing to conjure, right? The women gang members would wear in Sacramento would wear red and white. They were trying to set themselves apart. So if you're wearing black, that means that you're a soldier. When you're wearing white, that means something else, and I'll get into that. But so any type of trauma to our progress, hinders us, and it retards our growth, right? And the other thing that I want you guys to know is that, like I had to tell myself, I mean, because people are, oh, this always has to do with you. No, 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 no. I am not shouldering the weight of somebody else's toxicity ever again. And people are going to pay for what they have done. In this life, whatever, it's on my bloodline. They'll be rewarded because I did what I was supposed to do. Right? We've talked about that. So the, infantization comes in when you defy all logic of what they've put you through, and they're still trying to, they're trying to be, okay, well, you're black, we don't give a damn about you. That's basically what Allied had said. If you don't want to be a zombie, if you don't want to, because this guy was absolutely, that was on the first site that I was at. I've only been on 2 sites. You weren't going to put me on a third one. No, sir. Just to do the same thing again, over and over again, right? And then they had the audacity to email me and say, hey, well, we're going to take this off the table. You already know I'm homeless. You already know that I'm homeless. Right? So these are people who are trying to humble Black people, and the focus is Black people. This is why it can, what I'm speaking, it's a spirit. It goes across racial lines, but also let's not be naive and to believe that just because we know that it's a spiritual battle, that the cluster B personality is not going to use race. They didn't think anything of me or my dreams or my goals. Why? Because I don't believe in illegal immigration. I'm not, I am a supporter of what Florida is doing. And the only reason why is because I've been homeless. I know who caused me to continually to be homeless. They're doing it now. These are the same people who had caused me to be homeless in Sacramento that are causing me to be homeless now. When you're doing witchcraft to make sure that I don't get any hours, or that I have pains in my legs and stomach and feet, or that my body is bloated up and I've gained so much weight that you could never tell, right? That you could never tell that just literally for about 5 months ago, I didn't look like this, right? So sometimes we have to give them, not laud them, but give them, see them for what they are, because a lot of these guys are skilled. Christy Valencia is skilled at transferring her sicknesses, diseases, and health issues to other people. And God had already showed me she has a rotten womb. So when you reject her, male or female, she's going to mess with your reproductive, because she wanted you to heal her. She saw that you were a chosen person. You didn't want to heal her because you saw what she was. And now she's going to do witchcraft every single night to disturb your money, because she doesn't get it as the gold digging Jezebel that she is. She's going to do witchcraft whether you're a male or a female. She's going to do witchcraft on you in order for you not to have babies or to be able to produce babies with somebody else because you rejected her. This is what this succubus does. This is what you deal with when you're dealing with people with cluster B personalities. And especially if you are a Black person, they get really indignant about you sticking up for yourself. So you have to learn, you have to clothe yourself, you have to cloak yourself in your own confidence and reassurance in the Most High God. Because if you don't, they're going to rip you apart. I would rather people have to tremble at the sound of my name and leave that place than have them laughing and putting bibs on in the preparation of devouring me. God had to remind me just the other day, because I said, okay, I'm too much into this. I had already conquered this, where I know that you are my source of and supply. And I was like, I'm really kind of ashamed at how quickly I got back into that. Oh my God, I'm going to be homeless. 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 You know what I mean? When I was homeless, it gave me that power to say, I don't care. So when I took that back, everything worked out. When I got to that point, if I'm homeless, I don't have to, I'm in the world, I'm not of it. I have every right to go after those who went after me for no reason. For no reason. Allied came after me just for filling out an application before I even got stationed at a site. Kicked me off of a site because they refused. Come to find out, and I got it video recorded. Come to find out, they didn't want to pick up my badge. They were trying to literally groom me right then and there. Like like the weirdo stuff. And then with having to deal with the site and the people thinking you need to be humble, you need to sign this. And it's like, I'm not going to sign anything. You can write me up all you want to. I signed one write up because it was valid. If it's not valid, I'm not going to sign it, because you cannot legally put that on my record. You see? Then the second one was just simply because they were overbooked in guards. All you had to say is, hey, can you reassign this guard? Because we got too many here. Instead of trying to make a fool or a mockery out of that person's life. And I go in that area all the time, and I've noticed something. I said, you know what? Why am I not seeing these guys? Because before, they were out everywhere. You would see them, because that's what they were doing. They weren't doing their jobs. I say we got about 15 guards, and you have half of them not doing their jobs. You have people who are going there and they're smoking, in places that they're not. And I never said anything about it. Why? Because it's none of my business. But when you plot and you scheme on me, and then you try and blame me for the way that culture is, that was already created before I came in, then no, I got to set you straight. I'm not loyal to any type of toxicity, but it doesn't mean that I have to always talk about it. And I told him, it's like, if it doesn't have anything to do with me, I don't care. If you're not trying to hurt me, I don't care. Right? If it doesn't have anything to do with kids or animals, I don't care. You know what I mean? That's the way it is. But there's the infantization of Black people. And I've seen, Black zombies to me are those who lose the light inside of them because they're too afraid. They know how this works here. So they're too afraid of speaking up. They're too afraid of calling a spade a spade. They're too afraid of saying, hey, that person lied and I actually saw this. They're too afraid. And when you as a Black person in this day and age aren't sticking up for toxic, demonic POC, who are only under that POC umbrella to avoid taking responsibility for their own racism against Black people, I mean, come on. It's hard. It's hard doing this work and seeing the people who deserve better but don't know, but are, they don't know that they're being drained. I don't think that they know that they're being drained. I think that was one of the reasons, why I mean, besides being over, was there were too many guards on that site, but also they had heard word from the last site, right? Because they all kick it. They all kick it. They all go out and drink. They all go out and, Cinco de Mayo, all that kind of stuff. They'll all go out there and do that, which is, against company policy again. And so that's what I was pointing out to them. You guys, you with Cluster B personalities, they praise mediocre or below mediocre. and they discourage, or not discourage, but they what is the word I'm looking for? They down, make fun of, or make the person who is actually on the right path seem as if there's something wrong with them, right? If you guys listen to some of my older podcasts, I was telling my story and thought that there was something wrong with me, to the point where I truncated my own growth. I infantized myself, or if just to try and figure out what the hell was wrong with me. Because I thought nobody's family would literally try and kill them, isolate them, abandon them when they needed them. I thought the other day too, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have, you know what I mean? For some, like, why am I being reminded of this? I don't think it's the Most High God who's reminding me of this, because that Most High God, I have a spiritual team. That's been my family, right? So then I've posed this question in one of the nuggets. Are your thoughts your thoughts? Have you done enough work to be able to discern what is God, what is you, and what is uh, demonic entities trying to influence you and make you feel bad? Like somebody was trying to make me feel bad and sad and depressed. Oh, nobody loves me. Nobody wants to. Look, I've already done all that I'm going to do. I am not going to be homeless again, and I'm sure as hell not kissing anybody's ass who is in debt to me from their bloodline. When your bloodline is in debt to me, I don't have to do anything but withdraw. That's all I have to do is withdraw. When you come after somebody who has done nothing to you, a child has done nothing to you, a dog has done nothing to you, but I have seen atrocities happen to both. I've said this before. What I have seen in the spiritual world and in the 3D, you wouldn't believe me. You would not believe me. People go, oh, I got the gift. You don't got it strong enough. You've stopped evolving, because I can tell you what, the older you get, the wiser you get, the more stuff you clear away in yourself, the stronger your gifts get. The stronger your gifts get. I've seen things in the spiritual realm that have been sent towards me from these witches and warlocks that would make your head spin, or you die of a heart attack just seeing what I saw. Well, how heinous these things are. And still being able to talk about this and to have people, call you crazy or whatever, because I'm in my purpose. I'm going to do my purpose no matter what. I made that vow to the Most High God. I said this while we were on the streets. The first year, I said, I don't give a damn if I'm almost dead, my limbs are cut off, and I got to scoot around with my tongue. I am going to figure out I'm going to get healed. I'm going to clear out generational curses. I am going to make something new of my family and our legacy, because I know that we've been royalty. Things just come naturally. I know for me, things come naturally. And I'm naturally blessed. And people have always been jealous about that. But this is the first time that I have ever had two female stalkers. And I can't even say that the female stalking me. They're just literally being used. Whatever demons that they made a pact with, Santa Muerte don't pay good. Which is why they end up, you think that you can conjure up a demon and then swap my destiny for what you thought you were going to get from, or you swap my destiny and then get whatever benefits the demon said that it was going to give you. That's not the way it works. That's not the way it works. I may not look the way that I want to look because of the witchcraft and the attacks on my body. I may not be where I want to be, but I tell you what, when I transition on, whoever comes after me, and this includes my fur babies, so whoever, because they've gone through some shit. When you were essaying an animal, in the spiritual realm. And if you guys go to the podcast that I did a couple nights ago, um, oh, what was it? Psychic Intruders. And I read from this book, and I gave the name and the author. And I read from this book, and he talks about tulas, and he's saying that the tulas are a demonic thought form. So basically, I mean, you got positive thought forms, because I don't go around thinking, oh, I got to get revenge. I got to get revenge. It's already done. It's already done. But a cluster B personality, a toxic, demonic entity, is always murmuring, and that's why, God said he searches around, to and fro, seeing who he can devour. It's an insatiable appetite to always cause harm to other people. And there's no reason but that they have an insatiable appetite. I want to feed. This is my natural, like you can't take a snake and put it, a water snake, and put it in the desert. Right? So when scientists want to splice food and splice animals, okay, well, I think now you need to be able to fly, right? An elephant needs to be able to fly. So I'm going to, cross it with the genes, splice the genes with a flamingo or whatever, an eagle or whatever. You see what I'm saying? Like, and this shit happens. It happens. So, of course, in the spiritual realm, when you get these Looney Tunes, right, they're not in their right mind at all. When you're dealing with toxic people, they're not in their right mind. They're in their lower vibration. When you were in a lower vibration, you are a drive-through for every demonic entity that thinks that you're prime real estate, and they'll move right in. Right? So if you've grown spiritually, and when you cause somebody else chaos and trauma, what are you doing to them? You're trying to lower their vibration. Okay, so all of this leads back to a retardation or an infantization of the person that they're targeting. When I came to this new place, I had a nice little stash, a cush, right? And I could feel, I said, they're trying it again, because when you're dealing with cluster Bs, the part of the cocktail is a sociopath. Sociopaths are creatures of habit. They do things over and over and over again, ergo the loop. I went over to, in the area of the Motel 6 where I had been staying with Mary Jane, the sex trafficking drug dealer, and some other Puerto Rican guy, and she fancies herself to be, every black person's best friend and whatever, but really she caters to the desires of Mexican construction workers, and she and the Puerto Rican guy will provide them with young women to have sex with, prostitutes. How is that not sex trafficking? And you're selling marijuana, that stinky weed, that pee-pee stuff. So anytime she's in my energy, and it's like, why are you still in my energy when I'm long gone, dude? But anyway, I went over there to go pick up something in that area, and I could tell, I thought I'd never noticed it before. I said, this whole entire area is covered with the like the slime of this demonic entity that is over this Motel 6 and this city block. That's exactly what it was. I saw, oh gosh. I want you guys to get on the same wavelength. I mean, you don't have to see what I see or think how I think. Just get your vibrations up. Get your vibrations up. That's all that needs to happen. Get your vibrations up. Lady said, oh, you got a strong mind. You do too. Use it. Use it. Ask the Most High God. All these people going to church and you're not doing your work. You don't need to go to church to find God. God, you are the church. You are the church. if you choose to be. They don't want strong Black people. And these are POC that have been trying to make me homeless since I got here. They, with this lady again, at the Motel 6, the Allied Universal is the same. The things that I went through for no reason. And the other day I said, you know what? I am so exhausted with having to deal with other people's poor decisions. Like, what the hell? Right? Like, that's like if I have to call in to work and the phone, tell them, hey, I can't make it, but the phone's off. What am I to do? That would be like my job blaming me that because they didn't answer the phone and their mailboxes are filled up. You understand? So I'm hopefully so in a nutshell, the infantization of Black people. I've talked about my experiences with Allied Universal in California, and with when you're dealing with cluster B personalities, they don't want you to grow up because they're still 7 in their head, right? So if you have a business that is being ran by cluster B personalities, right, and their whole thing is to humble. Like, why would you want to humble somebody who's speaking truth and not going in there speaking truth, mind you, right? It's not like, when I got hired, it was like, oh, okay, cool beans, right? This is what I do. And I don't do drama. I just work, I keep to myself. But if you're offended because I keep to myself and I'm not giving you the reaction that would show you that I am cool, quote unquote, right? That has to do with you. That doesn't have to do with me. I didn't tell you to go and sleep with that bus driver. I didn't go and tell you to sleep with the welfare clerk. I didn't go and tell you to try and bully and intimidate somebody. I didn't tell 2 coworkers to get together and hump in the parking lot when they're on the job. Like, I had to really, sometimes you have to think about these things and when it's like, and put everything in perspective. It's like you did nothing at all. So God's not going to allow you to be punished for what somebody else has done, but learn the lesson. Because through it all, I was being guided, right? All I had to do was spend one night. I had to spend one night because of my procrastination. Because I was trying to force denial on myself and, I'm okay now, right? We're not okay. We're not okay. These are the same people that were in Sacramento are here too. That's what a network is. Right? And I don't know if I mentioned it, but it's like when you got a stalker means that they're going to follow you, But the power of this is the power of being, of doing the 4 steps, reveal, heal, grow, and show. It seems really simple, but those are the ingredients to a new life, a new you, finding the authentic you. Right? I can lead you to water, and I think that throws people off. It's like I can lead you to water, but I'm not going to force you to drink. I'm going to charge for my time, but I'm not trying to get the glory. You get the glory because you're finding you. When you find you find God, then give God the glory. When you find your higher self, then you and God will be like, okay, cool, let's get it now. You feel me? But people don't want to do that. And it's actually sad. It's really sad that because you see so many people falling by the wayside, man. Like I don't throw my pearls to swine, and that's what pisses people off. Right? It's like, oh, well, you're supposed to be this mammy. You know how hard it is when you see people who are called themselves people of color who want you to be mammy, who want you to say yes to everything, or smile, or not have a thought in the world. I mean, I've seen that. I saw one guy, he was a veteran, and somebody got to them because these guys use witchcraft, like hardcore, still here. That company did. I met with a new company, and I don't get that. I don't get that. It doesn't mean that they aren't hiring the same types of people, but I have breathing room, and I like that. I like that. But beware of people who don't want to try and micromanage your life. Be wary of that. If you're at a job, I mean, don't, like God had told me already to go put in this application, go do, and it was open for me, right? It's like when I went to the shelter, they were open. We got blessed. It was God's way of saying, the angels, the spirit guide's way of saying, I know this sucks, but we got you, right? Like it was like a mini vacation almost. I couldn't work at all because I had to, keep the babes with me. But they normally didn't allow, you know what I'm saying? But I also know that I have stalkers, right? Like there was a stalker outside. There was recognize the template because they always try and I watched him actually. These guys are not very bright. Give me Christmas, but I watched him and I was down somewhere where he couldn't really see me, but he knew that if anybody came out of that pocket, he figured it was going to be me, right? So I was walking the dogs. He was at the bus stop, and then he's all of a sudden he like, what are you doing, Hazel? You okay, sexy butt? Um, all of a sudden he's like he looks at me and goes, oh yeah, you know what I mean? Like the light goes off in his eyes, and he follows us around, and then I finally stop and I wait for him to move, and he finally moves. And I'm thinking to myself, what is this guy doing? Right, like right outside the shelter. And I'm like, you're not making it, you know. So anyway, somebody comes up, he thinks it's me, and he races right over to do his little spiel, his little stick. And he sees that it's not me, and I'm watching everything. He sees that it's not me, and so, oh, okay. So that's what I'm talking about. Gang stalking is real, and street theater is real. And actually, during that stay, I think I had like two others, but I was just like, I don't care. And I cussed one out. And I told him, if you don't go, I'm going to make you go. You know? And most of the time, I don't like to respond because it's like, I don't care, dude. If the person who's paying you, and that's what sometimes you have to wonder. It's like, I saw a thing on YouTube or TikTok. They were going to find, they were doing investigating to find out like how much these gang stalkers are getting paid. And so now everything's starting to come out. Like they're getting paid 15, so you're getting paid minimum wage to stalk people. You get gift cards, right? So I mean, of course, it's still a corporation, but what is it under? Where's you got to follow the money? You got to follow the money because I had the Northaniels that were after me, you know, and I know it sounds crazy, but that's what I was told. That's what I was told, not just by somebody who I was on the street with, but also by the person who is still obsessed and stalking me now. She boldly said it because she's been in it for so long and they have been destroying people's lives for so long. She said, they are taking over and there's nothing you could do about it, so get over it. That's exactly what Olga Texador told me. They are taking over, so it was nothing that I said that was racist. It was my intuition speaking, my higher self speaking, tapping into those Akashic records and saying, these guys are trying to take over and they are attacking Black people first. And she confirmed it. So basically, and has been obsessed with me because she wants to have my life. That's what she's been doing. It's like, I don't do anything spectacular. It's my spiritual practice, right? She worships demons. They literally every 2 weeks, I believe, they would go to and I haven't talked about this, but they every 2 weeks, so twice a month, to get the morale up and to get that energy out there, that demonic energy, they'd go to these rituals. And it's connected to the Shango shops, right? So I would go to the Shango shop to go get my candles, or actually I would just go for incense and sage because I love him incense, love them. And I'd go there, and I'm thinking, and I remember I finally, before we left, I looked at this woman named Barbara's eyes because her brother is a bubble owl or something like that. So they feel, well, we're black when we want to be. Yeah, I'm connected to the Nigerians. Okay. But I'm sitting in this lady's face crying. And I'm crying. I'm looking at her because I want to see her reaction. I'm going to cry because I'm not embarrassed by it. And she's looking at me and she starts to say something. But then she doesn't. She doesn't. She leaves it alone and she pretends like she cares about what I'm saying. Pardon me. She pretends that she cares. Because I tell her, I was like, look, I got this person over that's harassing me and is shooting me all this. I mean, like I've had people attack my womb, attack my brain, try and make me have an aneurysm, try and make me have a heart attack, try and like right now, I mean, and it's not, I don't think that's the reason, but before in Sacramento, because everyone God reveals, like because everybody was in, this is why I know about sex trafficking, pimping, and drug dealing and all that stuff, because all the gangs would converge on Vincent's Motel in Sacramento, which is where I was had stayed for 2 years. And so they would do rituals. And you could pull it up on YouTube. As long as you had the link and the passcode, you could pull it up on YouTube. Right? I found that out by watching a guy in the lawn. Oh God. I tell you, like I said, it's nobody would believe me. They think I was crazy, you know. But I have to stress this, and because I don't care what people think, they are attacking specifically Black people, and for me, it's been Hispanic people who are trying. You know, these women, they have their own mental issues. They mean like severe mental issues, Like one has multi DID, I think they call it now, has DID. Right? Blames other people for everything that she's going through. So she can't deal with her own reality. She can't have babies. She can't have sex, but she's uh, um, a succubus. That's all she thinks about is having sex. Right? Like I've had her, I mean, when I say think about it, again, we're talking about the Tula, anything that you think about so intensely materializes. As a man thinketh, so shall it become. So with her, she's fantasized about having sex with me for, you know, and having my money or whatever. Like she was really living and believing in her mind, in her fantasies, that we were in this relationship, and we're not. Never have been. Never showed any attraction to her whatsoever. So it was embarrassing for her because and just like it was with Mary Jane, embarrassing when your witchcraft doesn't work, right? Both of these guys were sending me like little lust energy, didn't work, you know, didn't work. And then getting mad because somebody has the nerve to love themselves enough to not want to even be friends with somebody who thinks of them as the N word or a mammy, as I've said, right? Like both of these guys have proven that, oh well, if you're cool, like I care about what you think about me, but you're a cool person if you just stand there and let me beat you up, let me demonize me, let me sexualize you, let me objectify you while talking about women's rights when I don't consider you anything, and then let me send people after you when you don't want anything to do with me. You know, and the thing with Mary Jane, just like with Christy, both of these uh, demons want everybody to be subjected to their toxic emotions, right? So that's what I felt when I was back in that area, is it was just like this principality, this demonic entity through Mary Jane, that was mourning incense. Like I felt nauseous, like, you know, like gross, you know? So this stuff happens. I mean, we got a lot of things that are happening in the world. And one thing I was thinking too, I'll end with this. One thing that I was thinking too, it would be just better. I mean, you know, just because we're Black people, We come from powerful bloodlines. We are not all from the same tribe, and I celebrate that. But what we have to stop doing is giving a pass, is allowing it to be off of being gaslit for so many years and manipulated for so many years to thinking that we're being mean or we're bullying, because that's what the Zionists said, we're bullying, pardon me, if we do not accept people who also consider themselves POC, indigenous, and all this other kind of crap. You weren't indigenous before, you were just such and such. You know, now because it's popular, now Black Lives Matter when it pertains to you. Like I've never, that was like the most, it was funny, but it wasn't. You know, when that old white lady came after the Mexican couple, wasn't saying that she, you know, that she didn't say something. But see, one thing I've realized too, and seeing it in action for myself, is that some POC will start the recording after everything is, after all the evidence against them is already done. And I saw a guy do that. One guy went after this Indian lady at a convenience store, Mexican guy. He was talking about, oh, I'm indigenous, I'm Blackfeet. I was like, no, I'm Blackfeet, dude. And I looked at him and I was like, okay. Because I like the lady, you know? And I love Indian culture, right? And so I watched this guy go to his car, come back, and start recording and record, ask specific questions to try and get her, and say, oh, you call yourself a lady and da da da. And that's the thing, that if you aren't attractive for a Hispanic male, a Mexican male, then they discard you, right? So if I'm not looking like a Muppet show with, you know, all this, I don't wear makeup. I don't need to wear makeup. I really don't. I haven't worn makeup for years, dude. You know? But I've noticed since I've been here, I've been referred to as sir a lot. Because, and then when you look around you, because of the high Mexican population, you see these women, and you know they're I mean they're they're huge. They're many different sizes, and but they're always wearing something tight, and they always got a lot of makeup on. Now, for me personally, I like my women natural. You know, if you want to put a little bit of makeup on too, but I don't want to have to get a putty knife and scrape it off of you, right? I want to see you. I want your authenticity, sorry, to show through, right? I want you. I want to be with your heart, not your looks, you know. And so, and that's fine with me, right? But here again, we're dealing with people who, oh, if you don't want to absorb how we do things, then we're going to end your life. I just got through with doing this, and I'm not going to keep quiet about it anymore. I don't care what anybody says. If you think I'm being racist, then change your ways. Change your ways. Because the people calling me racist does not mean anything. People were calling me racist when I was homeless on the streets, and I wouldn't let them come into my van that I paid for weekly and had to work overtime to make sure that we had a roof over our head, and I was able to drive from site to site. You kidding me? I've dealt with actual racist women who wanted me to use me like a whore, or parade me around, or drain my energy whenever they thought that it was when it was convenient for them. These weren't women. This was that one thing that I would tell you is that when you're with a cluster B personality, they don't want to have intellectual conversations because all they want to do is do. That's what they, when they get drained of energy, that's it. They want to feed. There's no thinking about it. There's just, this is what I want to do. When I lived with one of them, the only thing, they just wanted me literally to sit in the room like a hostage so they could siphon my energy. And that's what this person had actually done. When I did research on them, they had kidnapped a woman and her child because they had essayed the child, and in fantasizing about the woman. But in this is what I'm saying. When these some of these cluster bees and these succubuses and incubuses, they get delusional because they're thinking, oh, well, you would never reject me because I do these glamour spells and I make myself look so pretty, right? Or so handsome, right? And these women are lesbian. One is living as a straight woman. The other one's living as, it calls herself trans, but it's just, you're an equal opportunity. She also, I just found out that she had a son. But this woman, been fantasizing about this other woman, she believed truly that this woman and her were in a relationship. They were not. When I talked to the woman, they were not in a relationship. She said, I thought that she was a sociopath. Think about that. But this woman, the other woman presented her, the predator, presented herself as the victim because because of her delusions. She believed that this woman was leading her on. So when you think about it, I mean, when you're dealing, when the cluster B comes after you, it's like, oh, well, you made me think this and you made me think. No, you thought it on your own. You thought it on your own. Right? So the whole point is to grow up spiritually. And when you constantly have people who you can't identify, or you feel guilty, or you feel politically you can't, societally, society won't let you say anything because if you're not on, like there's a bus strike. So if I'm not supporting the bus strike, everybody's like, oh, you've caused me to lose 2 days of work because you're striking over pay that you're taking across the border, and where you can get your rent is anywhere from $50 to maybe $800, $900. You're still not paying $3,000 for a walk-in closet, but you want fair wages, right? So we're not, and you get that vibe where you're not supposed to speak. So how is there going to be any change if you can't speak? How is there going to be any change if you can't speak? Because you're trying to please people who make more money than you. You're trying to please people. You're on welfare, and they're, collecting a paycheck and collecting welfare. That's what surprised me since I've been in this new place, is that these guys are making $25, $35 an hour and still getting EBT card. The max. And I know because I was stationed at 2 different ones. And they got favoritism. As far as how do we deal with being infantilized, I think the thing that I'm going to say is to work these 4 steps. Always check with the Most High God. Clear out, make sure that your spiritual pipes are not clogged. And always have a backup plan. Listen to the Most High God when they say, go apply here. Because it may save you a month, just because it doesn't it's like when I first got to my new place, I was like, I hate it. This isn't what, and I was literally holding out. And I had some things that were stolen by my stalkers. They stole it, some things that I would have that I needed. And, but I think everything works out for my good in the end. But you have to listen. You have to work on that confidence within yourself to know, right? Like I said, I still go down in that area, and I'm not there to do anything, but I've noticed that it's real quiet. It's real quiet. See? It's real quiet. When people tremble at the sound of your name or at the realization that you're getting ready to show up someplace and you haven't done anything at all but speak a truth, that's power. That's power. And it's not something that I'm bragging about, but it's something that I reflect on when anytime I think, well, should I be afraid? No, they fear you. That's why they react the way that they do. So the best thing is when you got people who are talking civil rights or talking activism and want you to help them, and if you don't help them, then they're going to attack you, which is what many of them do. Then you need to get away from them. You need to get away from them. And because sometimes, getting away from them, and like in my case, isn't going to help. They'll show up. They'll show up. I had Christy Valencia come over before we moved, come over to my hotel. And I'm thinking to myself, wait, how do you even know where I live? I've never talked to this woman since being in the hotel. And they actually moved, her and her husband, her and her married husband actually moved out of the hotel. They had this house or whatever. They were going to get cool beans. It's like, she was trying to force me to move in with her. Like, I'm going to come back for you. I'm going to come back for you. Why? I don't even understand that. Like, that was nutty to me. I don't know you. I'm not talking to you. I'm not calling you. Good luck with you. That's why I told her, good luck with you and your husband. I hope everything goes well. I left her with peace and joy. And she comes and literally tries she was stalking me at the hotel and when I was in Sacramento. I didn't tell her where I was. So somebody in her network had to do it, right? So basically it's like you never know who is around you that is collecting information, right? Because a lot of people anyway, I'm going to end, but because I don't want to go into all of that, but how you deal with not being infantilized after you've done your steps and you've healed and you've grown up and you can feel that forceful energy trying to, and it's their way of humbling you by infantilizing you. Is that what they were thinking? Well, you need to be humble. Because that's what I was told at work. You need to be humble. Not I wasn't told that. It was the whatever entity was on this one woman. She was like, you need to be humbled or whatever. Now this is a big 300, 400 pound, 5 foot something. You know what I mean? Like, you're no match for me, dude. You're none. But she really did believe that I needed to be humbled. I've never been in a job like that. You know what I mean? So this is what opened my eyes. But I'm not going to go back where I already came. I don't have to. So a lot of times, Phoenixes, you're going to have to take yourself out of the environment. And before you take yourself out of the environment, ask the Most High where you're supposed to go. Ask where you're supposed to go. And listen. This is what I say. Please speak to me, Most High God, and my spirit team in a way that you know that I will understand. I'm pretty distracted right now, but speak to me in a way that only I know that it's coming from you. And I'll usually get something. And it's been like God was speaking to me before all of this other stuff happened with the job, but with my last employer. But I didn't want to listen because I was like, I'm tired. I'm tired. I want to get to my destination and go from there. But as long as my enemies are still spying, as long as my enemies haven't been brought to justice, because I'm not the only one that, has been that, which is what the Most High told me. It's like, look, I'm like, why is it taking so long? And he's like, it's not only about you. It's not only about you. Think about the children that have been disturbed, that have had their innocence taken away, the animals that have had their innocence in their lives, mine included. Mine included. So you can't say that you want justice and then get impatient because there's others that are involved, right? We have a network. This is a network that created a network of trauma. And they've got away with it for so long that they feel that they're going to still continue to get away with it. In Allied Universal, they had gotten away with traumatizing people, workplace mobbing, slandering, coming up with false charges like they did with me, not producing any proof, and then either transferring. See, a lot of times what they'll do too is they'll transfer somebody and then not give them any work because you're still on the payroll. You understand? So that's the scam that they go into. I don't think that that's the scam that they're doing with me, but I know they wanted to try and recycle me out and call somebody Jesus. I was like, I refuse to do that, Josh. You feel me? So you be willing to leave. I was willing to leave after that. I had been exhausted. I was trying to hold on for so long and God had other plans for me. So it was the best thing for me to do was to leave. Because I was like, okay, well look, I'm getting $18, $19 an hour, right? Even actually before they contacted me and emailed me right when I'd had something that fell through and I was disappointed. And they were like, well, hey, you know, you have until the end of this day to confirm whether you want to do this or not. And I said no, because see, when you were in that, I think spiritually too, infantization can come when you are hustling to make ends meet instead of calling something forth that it already is. Right? And I said earlier, I had to remind myself, I watched myself go into this kind of, poverty really, where I'm afraid of doing this and I don't want to be homeless, and it caused me to be disobedient for a time to the Most High God when I could have already had a second job and you know what I mean? Been doing, stayed out of a different hotel or whatever, right? So that's what I saw. That was my mistake. That was me not being obedient. So make sure that you are being obedient. You do not have to stay where people think are forcing you to play a caricature that makes them comfortable, right? You don't have to stay, and you will still be provided for. You're okay. So anyway, I'm done, you guys. I've come on longer than what I needed to. I hope that this helps somebody. Again, the topics were infantizing of Black people, sharing with you guys my recent experiences with this, which is what triggered the podcast tonight. And if you guys want to go and hook up with my links, if you want to get some stuff off your chest, I got a 35-minute booking on Fiverr for $40. We can talk about whatever. Because a lot of times people want to be able to talk. I've actually had somebody call me and say, well, how do I know if I'm a narcissist? And I feel this, and it was witchcraft that was being done in their life. So it's, you're not the narcissist. The demon is a narcissist. So you need to get that demon off of you, right? And that was basically what we talked about. But I've had other clients where it's like, I'm going through transition. I have some mental health issues, and my family's exploiting it, right? And then just a reminder, I am not a psychiatrist. I am not a counselor, right? So life coaching versus consulting. The difference between coaching and consulting is who holds the power. So in consulting, the consultant holds the power in the relationship, while in coaching, the client holds the power. So me, I am keeping you guys in the power. It's just, I am just guiding you through what you say that you need help with. That's the only thing that I'm doing. Guiding you through what you say that you need help with. I have workbooks, right? If you want to take I'm just doing it single now, but it's all on Fiverr too. So if you want to take the, what's it called? The 8-week program from Sealed to Healed, you can, that's more pricey, but it's worth it. So there are workbooks, or a workbook, so you would have homework, and we meet weekly through Zoom or another way to contact you as necessary. But right now, Zoom is the one, and help you to get to your authentic self, right? And just really just to help you feel like you're not crazy, because there's a lot of craziness that people. I don't think that people when people say, "Oh yeah, the truth is coming out." Um, what was it? Extraordinary Gentleman or something like that. It was some Navy militia thing with Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. And he asked her, "Can you handle the? I want the truth." And he said, "You really want the truth? You can't handle the truth, right? Truth is coming out, and I don't think that most of us can handle it because why? We haven't grown up. We're still in an infantile state, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, right? You're not mature enough to handle what is being revealed. I noticed that they're talking about, you know, people who violate children a lot, to the where its point is making us numb. That's because you're not doing anything about it. I want to hear those stories where they caught 200 of them, booked them, you know, because a lot of these women that I'm dealing with are also sex offenders. They're rapists, and they don't want to admit that. I mean, but that comes with the cocktail. So, anyway, if you want, go and book a 35-minute session, and it's only $40. And just let me know what it is that give me a brief synopsis of what you're going through and what you need help with. I think I did one with where we can do goal setting, because that's what I had to do. And maybe I should talk more about that. I think I've talked enough. Sometimes I feel like I'm talking about things until I'm blue in the face. But if you want to know anything about me, go to the other podcasts, okay? Because I'm pretty much sharing my story. All right, so I'm out of here. Again, hope this helps somebody. Please ring the bell. There's going to be one more topic. I was going through all my thumbnails. Sometimes I'll create a thumbnail on Canva and then save it and then not do the podcast until like a couple weeks or a month later. So I'm catching up now while I have it, and I'll probably splice these. So go to my other social media, through my link tree, and thank you for all your donations, and thank you again for tuning in. And remember, your blessings are in your ashes, Phoenix. Rise.